I would enjoy debating with you. You have a keen mind.
Hello and welcome to Debate 9, the Magnificent Niners. The show where we have 9 Star Trek themed debates, unless there's a tie. There will be 30-second arguments followed by a 30-second free-for-all, and the contestants are also the judges. Tonight's keen minds are me, Davan, Kevin from Enterprise at 8, Deep Space 9 at 9. This is Debate 9 at 9, at least on Atlantic time right now. And Mr. Scott, everyone's favorite transporter hijinks related fella.
Favorite transport accident. Nice to see you again, gents.
All right. So we have 9 debates. Anyone want to go first, or I'll go first? How does that sound? We have a timer.
Sounds good.
All right.
Is the timer turned on?
Yeah, this time. All right.
Got batteries in it?
So,
for the folly of errors on this show sometimes.
There's a little clip just to start this one off.
While the primary mission of the California class is second contact, Starfleet has never considered our work a top priority. Until today. I am thrilled to log that my planetary follow-up initiative has finally been given the green light by Admiral Buenamigo.
So, Carol Freeman's planetary follow-up initiative, Project Swing By, where they go and basically force a second contact with planets they've had first contact with, sometimes badly, and have lost contact with. So, be it resolved, Planet Swing By is a bad idea. Scott, you will be arguing for this. Kevin, you against. 4 always goes first on this show, so Mr. Scott, your 30 seconds starts now.
Project Swing By is a bad idea, not in and of itself, but the fact that it is necessary at all within an organization that should be more logistically sound, Starfleet, than they apparently are, is a major indictment of the way that the fleet works. You have a first contact, and that's it. You don't have any plan for a follow-up. Awful. So the fact that it is even necessary in the first place means that it's a bad idea, and it's an indictment of the overall system of the way Starfleet handles this.
All right.
I can't hear a timer,
Kevin.
by the way. Can you hear it?
I'll move it closer. How about now? Hear it now?
No.
You guys don't hear that?
No.
Oh,
I got 30 seconds ingrained.
Well, I'll just tell you when the time's up. I guess the noise cancellation must be getting rid of it. That sucks.
Well, of course, Project Swing By is, of course, a great idea because, as Scott just said, this is how it should work. Like, this is Freeman doing something that should be already done. So, in that argument itself, it's a great idea. You can't leave all these. Why do first contact if you're not going to follow up after? Right? Like, you have to have a follow up. You have to build a relationship with these species for the
that's time.
Safety of the universe.
So you do have to do a follow-up. I don't disagree with that.
Hold on. 30-second free-for-all. 30-second free-for-all.
If you can't do your initial contact properly, you come back for a second contact, and it's just going to go cold again. You're going to need a project re-swing by. And then you're going to need a project, let's try it again. Like, you need to have it's indicative of a more fundamental problem within the Federation that adding in a second contact officially isn't going to solve.
But it's a first step to solving the problem. It may not be the final step, but it's the first step. And you got to take that
Structuring it
first
as
step.
a one-time swing by is not going to do it.
Oh. Kevin gets the point, but Scott almost had it with the project re-swing by. Because humor goes a lot, but it goes far with this judge. But that was close. But I mean, it is a first. Being the first step argument is pretty good. Okay, that was debate 1. Why are we getting echoes randomly? You not have earphones in, Scott?
No.
Earphones, please.
Is it echoing on your side? I don't hear anything.
You hear it, Kevin?
Yeah, I heard myself a couple of times.
Yeah, you always need headphones.
All right, we'll try it. You're just going to hear me munching ice all night, though, then. All right, who's next?
All right, that would be you, Mr. Well, let's go Kevin, I guess. Well, no, you know what? Kevin's the new guy. He can see how it works twice and then get into it. You're up next, Scott.
Okay.
Now we can't hear Scott.
Yeah, at all.
Now we can't hear him at all.
Can he hear us? Yeah.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him, yeah. Oh, he just has to switch, because I think he switched his headset. He has to go to audio settings. Oh, wait. Say something?
Hear that now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
This is some good quality podcast content.
Well, come sit it with headphones like the rest of us. All right. Go.
I asked you off the okay. Be it resolved that Odo is the best example of the outsider character, something that we've seen in pretty much every series across all of Star Trek. Davin, you're a big DS9 guy, so you're going to be for this.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's a 15-second timer. 1 second. God damn it. All right. You guys can't hear it anyway, so I'm not going to put it on those stupid boxes. All right. So, Odo is the best example of an outsider character in Star Trek because he's the most different. He's the most outside. We've never seen somebody who's essentially immortal like he is, and he doesn't even know who he is. So not only is he an outsider to everyone else, he's an outsider to himself. He doesn't know who he is, who his people are. You know, eventually he gets to know more about that, but even then he's deeply confused. And he's the least interested in friendships with other people. That's my time.
We could actually hear the timer that time, wherever you moved.
Okay. I moved it farther away.
All right. So, Kevin, Odo's it was the best example of an outsider character in all of Star Trek. You're against the motion.
Well, I don't know that Odo really is an outsider character. He sort of fits in wherever he is. It doesn't matter if it's the Cardassians running the station, the Bajorans, the Federation. He fits in pretty well everywhere. So he's not really an outsider. He may be different physiologically, but he's not that different in his demeanor or his ability to mentally shapeshift into these other groups.
Okay. Open debate.
So here's the thing, though. He's the biggest outsider because he likes it that way. You know, Data wants to be more human. Odo does not want to be more human. He looks down upon humanoids and things like that. So that makes him this outsider. And, you know, kind of a bit hard to be around, if you ask me.
I feel like Barclay's more of an outsider because he does want to be more human, or he is human, but he wants to be more personable with everybody. He wants to fit in and just never can. Ever. Never.
Did you hear that end of timer too?
No. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I maybe should have defined this a little bit better at the start. The outsider character very often is like the point for the audience to kind of clamp onto and see things. So like Spock,
Point
the
of view
original
character,
series,
you mean?
Data. Yeah, it's not really a point of view. Usually it's the captain. That's the point of view character.
Oh, yeah,
But the outsider is the one that can kind of comment on things a little bit for the audience when you're in such a fantastical setting. So you had Kevin a lot to choose from. All you had to do is make a case for like Spock or Data or Phlox or any of these guys. They all do kind of fit into their context, like or at least they try to. Some of them more successfully than others. And I like, this wasn't what I was looking for in the argument, but I do tend to agree that Odo doesn't even know himself, and so he makes a very good entry point for that. So I thought it was an uphill battle, but I'm going to give it to you, Davan. That's for you. 1-1-0 early on.
1-1-0 indeed. All right, Kevin, your first one's up now.
All right. Be it resolved, Spock and McCoy have a deeper friendship than Spock and Kirk. And Scott, you're for. Devin, you're against.
Time starts now.
Spock and McCoy have a deeper friendship than Spock and Kirk. Spock and Kirk exist in such a high pressure situation. They're the number 1 and 2 on the ship, and there is a necessary, I don't want to say necessarily a competition, but there's a necessary sort of distance that they must maintain. It's why it's so powerful when there are moments where that breaks down, like at the end of Star Trek 2. But throughout most of the series, you would see them as almost combative with one another. They're representing two different things. Whereas McCoy is able to come in there and just sort of whisper in the ears and play that sort of third wheel to get in the way of them.
Of course it's Kirk and Spock. I mean, come on. They're like the biggest besties in all of Star Trek. Like, he will forever, for whatever it is, he'll always be his friend. No, but seriously, like, they're the best of friends because, unlike McCoy, who of course Spock was an adversary with, an adversarial friendship, mind you, but Kirk is somebody he really wanted to be more like, rather than as like an example of the things he doesn't quite like about humanity. Time. All right, open debate.
Biggest bestie in the whole thing? What about Data and Geordi?
Sure.
What about?
Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about
what
Spock's
about?
besties.
That's your argument, is that they're the biggest besties across, and they're Mariner and Boimler. Like, there's so many that are closer friends. If that's where you're going to hang
but
your hat.
how many of them died for their friend, as Spock did for his?
Which
who
is why
committed
it hits you so hard,
jeopardized their
because they
entire
haven't been
career
like
to go
that throughout.
find his friend, who he had every reason to believe was dead. But he's like, no, I must find my friend, my best friend.
That was tough. That wasn't. I don't think either of you made great points at all.
No, I don't think we did either. This is our strongest showing, I will say.
No,
It was a good question.
I would say objectively, Spock and Kirk do have a stronger relationship than Spock and McCoy.
You should wait till he
I
gave
disagree.
The point said anything.
Wow. I'm gonna give it to Davan.
Okay.
For enthusiasm, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. 10 seconds of, well, let me tell you, you sound like Don Cherry.
Oh my God! Don't compare me to Don Cherry. I'd rather you compare me to his dog. All right. We are moving on. Be it resolved that putting the female changeling on trial for the crimes of the Dominion was not enough. Kevin, you will be for this. Scott against.
Okay. Well, of course it wasn't enough. You can't put one person on trial for all of the crimes, the war crimes that were committed. Like, what about Wayoon or even Damar? I mean, Ducat dies, but it's it definitely isn't enough to put one person on trial for all of that, for all of the Dominion War. It wasn't only on her. I think Odo should have had some consequences.
Coming after Odo too. All right. Rebuttal, Scott.
So it wasn't only on her. And I think if you saw more than, what was it, maybe 10 minutes of post-war stuff that we still have ever seen, really, you'd probably find that there were other trials that were held. But you got to start somewhere. And the founders were the unquestioned leaders of the Dominion. The Dominion were the belligerents of the war. And she was the face of the founders. And so she is where you start.
All right. Open debate starts now.
Well, sure, that's where you start, but the question is it's not enough, and it isn't.
I don't
enough.
think it's all that they did. I don't honestly think that they stopped there. I don't think they did one trial and said, okay, we're good. We just didn't see it.
Well, then that would mean it wasn't enough. I mean, we're arguing the same thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, point Kevin.
He was for the argument. I was against. This is ridiculous. You can't even keep.
No, you talked yourself out of that point, Scott. Because the question was
on trial for the crimes of Dominion was not
the
enough.
question wasn't
I was
about
against
the things
it,
that we
which means
we
it wasn't
haven't
enough.
seen yet.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, be it resolved. Oh yeah, Scott's next. All right.
Okay. Now I'm getting cats chasing the cord of the mic here.
Now,
Okay, Klingons. So this is kind of an interesting one because there isn't an answer that we've seen in the show. I don't think. We've seen some use of bioweapons in Star Trek. Cisco even used them. We've never had the Klingons weigh in on this. For such a warrior race, that seems unusual. So I was thinking about it, and I thought Klingons very likely are going to be against the use of bioweapons. So be it resolved that Klingons are opposed on a moral grounds to the use of bioweapons. Kevin, you argue for this one.
All right. Well, of course they should be morally opposed to bioweapons. I can't think of a more cowardly way to win a war or to win a fight. It would definitely not be honorable. There's a reason that Klingons love hand-to-hand combat, and it is because it is more honorable than anything else. They would have no taste for this, for bioweapons at all.
okay. Well, rebuttal. Here we go. You know what's honorable? Victory. Victory over one's enemies. And you know how you achieve victory in certain situations. I'm not saying they would want to go to bioweapons often, because I agree with Kevin the fact that they still would rather a fist fight. But, if things were going bad, if the Herc returned and the Herc were about to defeat the Klingon Empire, do I think they would let their morality, the Klingons let their morality get in the way of victory over the Herc? No. No. Nay, I do not.
Of course they would. They would rather die than be dishonored. I mean, that's the premise of the show, of their whole race. They would rather die than be dishonored or do something dishonorable.
But would they rather win than lose? Yes, I think so. I think
they would rather lose honorably than die, or they would rather die
I believe we've seen
than win.
I think we've seen many instances of Klingons doing dishonorable things to win battles or even to advance their own position. So I don't think this is well outside the Klingons actions we've seen in the past.
And they're never the heroes of the story.
Yeah, I think Kevin's got this one kind of hands down. It was sort of the way that I would have seen either side of the argument go, but yeah,
Good debate.
the
I
days of
got
good day to
lucky
die.
I got lucky being for that one. That one would be hard to argue the other way.
Yeah, the victory at all
Victory.
costs is the way to go on that, but I think you got to frame it a little more of a
I probably did.
I don't know. I don't think a Klingon would present it quite that way. They wouldn't just say, well, results speak for themselves. They would turn it into a
Results,
song,
boy.
and they would like a lot of what the Klingons do, and this is a big part of the show in TNG, is the arc of like the Klingons telling themselves stories that aren't necessarily true. It's one of the
Yeah.
things that gets Worf disillusioned with the Empire, right? And so maybe this is part of that, but that wasn't the argument that was made there. So point to Kevin.
All right. Kevin's up.
All right. Be it resolved, the Federation is wrong to simply ban augments. And Davan, you'll be for.
Okay. So the Federation is wrong to simply ban augments because Dr. Bashir is an augment. They didn't ban him. So they've shown that they're clearly willing to do it on more of a case-by-case basis. And I think that's probably a more sophisticated approach that an organization such as Starfleet or Federation prides themselves on taking. I mean, there are some that may need more restrictions, like a Jack or an Admiral Patrick, but to like completely ban augmentation just seems so. My time's up.
I think that they're right to ban it because they didn't just arrive at this position. It's another one where we're coming into the story further along than what's already happened. They had augments. That was what World War III was about, and it took a long time to get to the Federation where they are now. So it's not that they've just simply banned them. It's a across the board ban based on lived experience that was devastating to the history of the Federation.
Right.
All right. Open debate.
Look, it's case-by-case basis. You can't just have a blanket
You
ban
can't do
on
that. You
things.
can't
That's not
have
how
a rule that
Starfleet
says,
does
well, it
things.
depends.
Yeah, but like,
Well,
look,
this
you
one
can
seems nice, so he'll
seriously
probably be okay.
You can increase people's way of life like they did with Bashir.
You can increase a
he was
lot of different things. Bashir was fine. That it was Section 31 that was pro Bashir. He had to keep it very much hidden from mainline Starfleet. And if you're doing it as a rule, you can have exceptions to a rule, but the rule still stands.
All right. I guess that's the end.
right, yeah.
I'm going to give this to Scott.
Mr. Scott. Back in the game.
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott takes it.
Well, his name is actually Scott, so that works too. Sam says, come on. Or, this one seems nice.
Is Dave hitting on us?
Yeah. All right. So, who we're back to? Oh, we're back to me now. Okay. So, this one has a clip bleed in as well.
Let's drop the ranks for a moment. I don't like you. I think you're insubordinate, arrogant, willful, and I don't think you're a particularly good first officer. But you are also the best pilot on the ship.
Well, now that the ranks are dropped, Captain, I don't like you either. You are arrogant and closed-minded. You need to control everything and everyone. You don't provide an atmosphere of trust, and you don't inspire these people to go out of their way for you. You've got everybody wound up so tight. There's no joy in anything. I don't think you're a particularly good captain.
Be it resolved, Jellicoe was more correct about Riker than Riker was about Jellicoe. Scott, this time you will be for this.
Jellicoe was more correct about Riker.
Mm-hmm. Hi.
Oh, Has my time started?
Yes. I'll start it
Um,
over for you if you like, since you didn't say anything.
Well, this one's an uphill battle. So we've seen hints throughout the show so our point of view on Riker is very sympathetic through the entire show, but we have heard whispers up to this point of what's going on here. Why is he still a first officer? Why hasn't he advanced? And we don't really get to see it because we're in it. We can't see the forest for the trees. Jellicoe's coming in as an outside voice. He's looking at what he can actually see as the performance from a broader Starfleet point of view. Doesn't like what he's seeing. I don't think we should discount that just based on the fact that it's a character that we have been spending time with and that we naturally like.
All right. Rebuttal.
No, Riker was more right about Jellicoe because a great leader will come in and not just throw his weight around. He'll figure out what his people need to do their jobs properly, to feel comfortable with him and build a loyalty. And Jellicoe doesn't do that. He just comes in and starts, changing everything around, putting on more duty shifts and whatever. And Riker is Riker, as to like Riker and why he isn't in command, it's because he doesn't want a crappy ship. He always refuses. It's not that he hasn't been promoted.
Open rebuttal has started.
Captain's prerogative to run the ship the way that they want, and the crew is there to follow orders from the captain. And Riker, in this case, is being openly insubordinate to the orders of his commanding officer.
That is true.
Different
but
leaders
it's also...
have different styles of leadership, and Jellicoe is bringing his style of leadership. He's there for a reason.
But
it's not up to the crew to
Riker
decide
is giving voice. Riker is doing his job and giving voice to what the crew thinks and how the crew is feeling.
Holy shit, Scott! You pulled that one out at the
end. I don't know. I feel like I won some of the ones I lost more than I lost that, or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That was a tough
out in the open debate. You were losing from your individual arguments, but
that was a tough one to find anything to work with.
That was a tough one, yeah.
You forced Kevin to agree with you in the open debate. It's like, well, that's true. All right.
First rule of debate: you never give an
Kevin
inch.
At 3. Kevin at 3, Scott at 2, Davan at 2. We got a close game here. All right, so Scott.
Okay. This is another sort of look at it from a viewing point of view, a production point of view, maybe. So the upcoming Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover episode that we've heard a lot about. It's the most anticipated episode of Star Trek we've seen since The Best of Both Worlds Part 2. Kevin, you argue for this one.
Well, how could it not be? I mean, these are, out of all the shows we've got now, all the new shows, these are the most beloved ones. And you've got a crossover between an animated show and a non like a real life show. That's amazing. I don't know if that's been done. It's never been done in Star Trek, obviously. And so, yeah, of course, people are looking forward to it. And you've got great characters coming in. And Lower Decks characters are going to fit perfectly into Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
Rebuttal.
Rebuttal. Here's the thing. I agree with everything Kevin said, but that still doesn't amount to being the most anticipated since The Best of Both Worlds, because we don't know what it will be. It's not like when we end a season of Deep Space Nine on a cliffhanger and we have to wait to see if the Federation can retake the station, or like in Voyager we find out they're stranded on a planet and Decay's have taken off with Voyager. Like, how's that going to work itself out? Like, we've had story elements to be more interested in. Open debate.
with those story elements, though, you actually do know what is going to happen. You know that it's all going to work out. With the anticipation, you even said that you don't know what's going to happen in this crossover episode. I mean, that builds anticipation. You don't know what it's going to be like.
It builds wonder, perhaps wondering, but in anticipation, no. Like, are you like, oh, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with that, or are you like,
Yes.
oh, I can't wait to see how Voyager gets off this planet? You know?
No, I'm much more interested in what that looks like.
I think there's other bits you might have been able to. You might have had a stronger argument with like Voyager being towed by the Borg at the end of Scorpion. I remember being.
That's what I was thinking of. I knew there was a Borg cliffhanger, but I couldn't figure out exactly what
it's
it
hard
was.
hard to build too much excitement around the cave on.
With
Or the
basics.
premiere of new series, or
I went with Deep Space Nine. You made a Deep Space Nine example.
Yeah, but there was a point Kevin made early on about these are the two most beloved shows going right now, and that's subjective.
Yeah.
Discovery's 5 seasons in. Maybe it's the one that's most well liked.
No.
When's Discovery at DC? When's that coming up?
What?
No.
No.
Yeah. Kevin had the stronger argument on that.
He did. Well, Kevin's won, but we might as well do the last debate.
Might as well do the last one. I was hoping you would take it, Davan, so that there would be the 3-way tie, but that was a pretty strong argument.
3-way tie. We had a 3-way tie last episode, actually, for the first time ever. It's crazy. All right, so let's the battle for second place. Here we go.
All right. Be it resolved, Odo should have been relieved of all duties after the Federation retook Deep Space Nine. And Scott, you're 4.
This one's easy. He's a collaborator. They probably should have relieved Kira and the Bajoran staff as well. If you're going to work with the enemy when they take over, that's not the kind of people you want at your side in the war. That's enough for that one.
Oh, wow. That's not going to be enough to defeat me, sir. Let me tell you why. Because...
Best friends?
Not best friends. Because wars are extreme situations. They didn't relieve Kira. They didn't relieve Odo. They didn't relieve all these people you call collaborators because they were trying to make the best of a tough situation. They could have gone against the Dominion and got Bajor bombed, or like they were always just worried about getting the Bajorans kicked off the station. But even that, like, they had to tread carefully. And Odo, though, made perhaps one mistake while being manipulated by an enemy, but
So they were. I don't think Odo and Kira were in the wrong. From their point of view, they were representing Bajor. Bajor was not part of the Federation. Bajor was the owners of Deep Space Nine, or whatever you want to call it, and they were right to stay with the Dominion. But when Starfleet comes back, and you've got these folks that have been working with the enemy, you're right. War is a very extreme situation. You need to be able to count on the guy next to you, and if they're just going to flip flop, you don't want him back.
The Constable, because he's constant.
Oh my God.
All right, well, if that's not enough for him to lose out on that.
Yeah, Scott, you win. You got.
Damn, that was really a bad line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That was yeah.
I meant consistent, not constant. But oh well. I didn't say
it was a noble effort. Yeah, they're not. Nobody bats 1,000, Davan. Don't beat yourself up.
Murphy's here. Murphy, we didn't need your question. You can't hear me anyway, I guess.
No, I can hear you. I just realized how badly you need a visual timer, so I was working at that while you're gone, and I'm trying to figure out the best way of implementing it, and I think this is probably the best way to do it.
You guys want to do a quick bonus round?
Wow. Let's hear the question.
Yeah, let's hear the question.
I'm not sure how you can do a 3-way debate on a yes or no question.
No, they're not yes or no questions. They're 3-way debate questions.
3-way, okay.
All right, so I guess my question would have been, what quadrant of space is most dangerous to the alpha quadrant? Gamma, delta, or beta?
Oh, that is a good question. Do we all get to pick one, or are you going to assign the arguments? You assign them.
All
Just
right,
random,
I'll try
at random.
them.
This is like a geography question. I suck at this stuff.
Mr. Scott, you'll get the delta quadrant. Kevin, you're gonna get the beta quadrant, and Davan, you'll get gamma. And then I believe let's go with Davan first.
All right. Of course, it's the Gamma Quadrant. They just fought a huge war with the Dominion in the Gamma Quadrant, and as we discussed on this very show already, they didn't really follow up with the end of that. They're like, okay, we've got one of your founders. I guess everything's okay now. Like, no, the founders are going to get all xenophobic again and come back with something bigger than a Jem'Hadar. They created the Herc. They sent in the Herc. They created the Jem'Hadar. They sent in the Jem'Hadar. What's next? What's next? Destruction, that's what, of the Alpha Quadrant. Just save the rest of my time. That's a cool timer, Murphy. That's going to look good. Good next episode.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to pull off, but yeah. All right, let's go. I'm gonna. Kevin looks like he needs time to stew, so Mr. Scott, it's gonna come to you.
He's just trying to figure out who's actually in the Beta Quadrant.
That's
the Romulans and the Klingons, Kevin. It's the Romulans and the Klingons.
Pretty much everyone other than Gamma and Delta Quadrant people. So Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians are all in the Beta Quadrant.
No, Cardassians are not in the Beta Quadrant. They're on the opposite side of the Federation. No. It's the Romulans and the Klingons and the Tholians.
Tholians are interdimensional.
And the
from the map I was looking at, apparently the Cardassians are actually in the Beta Quadrant.
That's what I thought.
What?
It's pretty much everybody but the Federation, I think. So anyways, the Delta Quadrant, I'm going to appeal to the reason here. So we have, I think, pretty much just at least one consistent all-knowing entity that we're introduced to after the original series, and that's Q. And when Q decides that the Enterprise and the Federation get a little bit too big for their britches, where does he send them? Straight into the Delta Quadrant to show them what terrors await. And of course, that's the Borg. And so if Q is the one that's going to say, I need to scare these guys, I need to show them the dangers, and I'm going to pick the Delta Quadrant, that's good enough for me.
All right, cool. Well, that was a pretty good argument. Pulling out the big guns with Q and Borg. I like it. Kevin, you ready?
Either that or saying one little wiener ship in Voyager was able to get through on their own. That wasn't going to work.
All right. Well,
you're going to say that in the rebuttal.
Has to be the Beta Quadrant because, first of all, it's right next door, and you have these species that the Federation thinks it has already had these treaties with, that it's dominated, but they're complacent. And the Romulans could turn at any moment. They could join the Klingons. If they join the Klingons, the Federation is in trouble.
Ooh, solid argument, Kevin.
Open debate.
Give me one.
I'm going to shut.
Is there time for the open debate?
30 seconds.
Is it 30 seconds? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Mine's going to be short and sweet.
Boom. Here we go.
Ready? One. Scott said it. The Borg aren't a threat. Voyager managed to handle them just fine all by themselves. And then they've become the Borg cooperative anyway. They're no longer a threat. There's nothing to fear from the Delta Quadrant except the Kazon. And that's laughable. And as far as the Romulans, their star blew up. The Klingons, they're all right, but they're sloppy anyway. They're easy to defeat in a large war.
And really, that's the complacency I'm talking about.
You know what you're getting with the Beta Quadrant. You know what you're getting with the Gamma Quadrant. The Delta Quadrant's completely unknown still. There's huge voids in the Delta Quadrant. Who knows what's lurking in there?
That's the same with Gamma, I would argue. And
technically
they're all right.
But the Gamma Quadrant, the Alpha Quadrant is protected from the Gamma Quadrant by the wormhole aliens.
Whoa.
That's a good argument too. That's a really good
And
argument.
Well, you can still get there the old-fashioned way, like you would have to get to the Beta or Delta quadrants. You can still fly
These
there. It just takes
transwarp
a long
hubs to
time.
get to the Delta Quadrant.
yeah.
Yeah, they
well,
collapsed
we
those.
set some of those up. Yeah, well, yeah, they blew those up. You know, that can go
It's only a
both
matter
ways.
of
They can
time
use
until
the
the
transport
Federation has
hubs
their
to
own
attack the Delta.
transwarp capability. We've seen it in the future.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Those are all solid arguments. I feel like, based off the arguments alone, Davan probably won just because he came in with so many examples and counter examples to the Delta and Beta Quadrant. Although, Mr. Scott, you came
Scott for second place.
Mr. Scott, you came in with solid guns with the Q and the Borg. I was hoping to hear a few more species.
Don't know that much.
He
about the
said it
Delta
himself.
Quadrant.
He's just like, unless you talk about that one ship that skirted through just fine. I'm like, you shouldn't say that.
You don't know too much about the Delta Quadrant.
He was good, and then he kind of just shot himself.
You know, in the Gamma Quadrant, what you're getting. It's the Dominion, and they kind of run the show everywhere. We didn't see it,
scary.
despite spending 7
Formidable.
seasons there. We didn't see that much of the Delta Quadrant, honestly. Saw a couple of weird planets. Saw lots of the Borg.
Saw more of it than the Gamma Quadrant, though. I'd like to see more of Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah, but think about the vision that we have on the Gamma Quadrant.
Don't know what's there.
We know it's the Dominion. We don't need to see every corner of the Dominion. They got the Gamma Quadrant locked down, the way the Federation has the Alpha Quadrant locked down. We don't know what that is in the Delta Quadrant. Could be that there's something like that, and Voyager just managed to skirt by them the whole way through. It's easy to lose one little ship in an entire quadrant.
Well, our winner tonight, Kevin Millard. Fine job there, Kevin.
Well done,
Kevin. Fine debates. You've joined the noble ranks of Debate 9 champions. Scott and I have statues of us as well, but your statue will start being chiseled.
Statue will be there, little bit lower, a little bit later, a little bit shorter.
That's all right.
all the statues are shorter than your statues. It's not the height of a statue that makes a great statue.
That's the voice of a man with a short statue.
My short 6-foot statue. Yeah, it's true. Did you guys know we're a member of a United Federation of podcasts? We certainly are.
I did.
Yeah, well, you would know. We do lots of things. We have a whole Star Trek line here, right? Look at those pretty people. There's Mr. Scott there in the back. There's Kevin there in the middle, looking a little surly. There, Kevin. And there's me there in the front. We're a United Federation. We got the Locutors of Trek stuff. Me and Dave and Mr. Scott do on occasion. And there's also the Command Division. What's going on over the Command Division, Kevin?
Enterprise at 8. We're just starting the Xindi arc. That's apparently good. I don't know. I've never seen Enterprise. This is my first time through.
There's good stuff there. There's good stuff.
Yeah, and then Tuesdays we've got Deep Space Nine at 9. Who Mourns for Morn is the next episode we're doing on that. Another good one.
Answer?
Good Ferengi.
Everyone. Everyone mourns for more. But yeah, that's the 2 shows going on right now. That's because and Prodigy. We're doing Prodigy reviews over there on Thursday. That's fun. Me and Captain Dave and Jessica Chan. And then there's also the Ops Division where we do Star Trek Radio Theater. We just did Star Trek 5. How'd that go for you, Kevin?
I enjoyed that immensely.
It's always a good time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a Lower Decks one coming up in the near future.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm still Rutherford, right?
Yes, that's not going to change. You might be a secondary character. It's this 3-issue comic series.
Oh, okay.
Written by Ryan North, one of my favorite comic writers. So it's awesome. It's only 3 stories, but Dracula is basically the bad guy. It's pretty funny.
I'll do multiple roles as well, David, if you want.
Yeah, well, you are multiple roles because you don't have a big one, so you have many small ones.
Sweet.
Yeah, you in on this, Scott?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to. You've intrigued me. I'll look into. Where can I find more about Star Trek Radio?
Where can you find at Live Long and Podcast?
Of course.
There'll be a Star Trek Radio Theater playlist. You know, there's lots of them. We did Wedge Douche. That was a good Lower Decks one. Wedge Douche is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of running gags, too. If you listen to a lot of Star Trek radio theaters, you'll start to understand why the rest of us are always laughing.
Sure is,
Vulcan
Commander.
ensign coming onto onto the
Sure.
Cerritos next year.
Yeah. And also we got the science division where we launch probes.
She naked?
We do trivia. Who? Oh, is she naked? Yeah. That was the gag from the last one. Is she naked? Yeah, it's good time. One of the one of the comments from the listeners is like, "What is even happening here?" Like,
Yeah. What the hell is going on here? Was
what the
our
hell
first
is going
comment.
on? Yeah, you know we're doing it right. Yeah, and then we of course have our Locutors of Trek brand as well. And also check out the X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show. We just interviewed the voice of Storm, Alison Seeley Smith. It was awesome. And we are on to Deal with the Devil on Tuesday. Check out Graphic History's podcast. Andre's interviewing Jeff Blythe, the cameraman who worked on many things such as The Shining. Check out Hold Up a Movie podcast, right, Murphy? Yeah. Check that out. We just did Christmas. Yeah, you know, if you can, if Facebook and these other things allow you to, check out Hold Up a Movie podcast. We're working on that whole aspect. And next up is Party Movie. So, you know, if you like partying, check it out. Check out Super Mater Brothers podcast. They are brothers!
They are brothers!
And they review reality shows and the like. Also, check out KBBBL podcast if you want to check out Simpsons reviews and some laughs and some good times and, you know, some science and philosophy. You'll learn a lot on that show. Even memes. We've got it all. Check out Trivia Debates. There was an episode yesterday. That was fun. I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but it ended the way it should have ended. And also check out a Hellbound podcast, a horror movie podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan. That's our entire federation for now, but it continues to grow, so who knows? And you know what? That's enough anyway. So, enough for you. A big backlog for you all to enjoy. We also did a Geek Tall Challenge recently, if you like Klingon stuff. So, any final words, fellas? Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Good. I think this is my favorite show. I think it's the one that's the most fun for me. I think it's a good show. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining me, Kevin and Scott and Murphy. That was a good question, Murphy. The quadrant question. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
no,
right. And same with you guys. Good questions, good topics. All right, let's boogie. I'm rambling at this point. So, catch you later, everybody.